even like, like light up stage in my apartment because I just don't want any negative energy around me. Like, how were you able to stay like at least positive last year?
I didn't watch the news. That was made a big change, like not really watching the news. And then I just stayed creative. I started writing, distractions were good for
Yeah.
me. As long as I was like checking out of like what was going on in the world, I felt a lot better,
Mm-hmm.
and that was pretty much all I did. I wasn't really concerned about what was going on in the world. I mean, I knew that we had the pandemic. I did
Right.
a lot of research on what I needed to do to take care of myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, I was like, yeah, because it was just too much misinformation out there. And it was just, it was just too much. So I
Yeah.
just kind of checked out.
Right. When it first happened, because we started learning about this, like the pandemic, the COVID virus last year around this time, like, the
Yeah.
news reports. So I'm not gonna lie, I was those people that was like, it's a hoax. Like, I don't believe it. I
Yeah.
had no idea that like a year later we would still be in quarantine. Like,
Man.
still
Yeah.
at phase. I'm in New York, so we're kind of still at phase 1 a little bit. So like
Oh,
certain things,
wow.
yeah. So we're still kind of struggling with that,
Mm-hmm.
but our numbers are decreasing. It's just that they're a little bit scared of the virus passing, especially with this new strand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How is it? So I was watching an interview of you, like just learning more about you, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about Cicely Tyson. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you. You said that you were inspired by like Whoopi Goldberg, and
Yeah.
I'm not. Whoopi has EGOT. Like she's amazing. But
Yeah.
what made you draw to Whoopi out of thousands of other Black actors?
Because Whoopi was like, she was funny, and I felt like she looked like me in a sense of she's a brown skinned woman, And when I was younger, I didn't really see a lot of leading ladies that looked like Whoopi Goldberg. You know what I mean? So that was very um, impressive. And also, it left an imprint on me where it was like, I could do that too. She was funny. I mean, just her talent, her talent. And then the fact that she was a leading lady, she was carrying movies and she was very good at what she did, playing all those different characters. Like, yeah, Whoopi's the GOAT.
She amazing. Like
Yeah.
my first movie I remember of watching her was it was either The Color Purple or
Uh-huh.
Ghost. But
Ah.
like just like seeing how she was like she played two different characters, but she
Mm-hmm.
was captivating. Like especially in
Yeah.
Ghost, like should have won. I don't think she did win, but she should have won Best Supporting Actress because she kind
Yeah.
of carried the movie. Like she was the voice. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that was kind
Yeah.
of big because I think she was one out of few Black people actually in the movie.
Yeah.
So for to see a a Black girl that doesn't need to have a perm or a weave or have extra makeup on or anything,
Okay.
just capture herself in a movie like that. I think that was amazing to me, and it stood out to me when you said Whoopi Goldberg because I never really hear people, Black women, really usually say Whoopi Goldberg. I always hear like the usual names. So when you said Whoopi, I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see that. She's
Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing. If I could remake some of her movies, I would love to. Like, yeah, she was definitely dope. I mean, she still is, and it's so funny because I read her book and I remember in her book she said about like she stayed away from politics, and now to see her on The View is actually pretty funny.
right. And next
That yeah.
time,
Well,
Jonathan
she
King.
stayed away from politics in the sense of like, and I see what she means because that she wrote that autobiography a long time ago, and she said one thing she learned in Hollywood is like not to have those discussions, like those political discussions and stuff like that, because people are very, like we saw this year, people were very heated about like people who think differently,
Yeah,
So it was just very interesting now even to see her on the View,
on The View.
and now she like speaks publicly worldwide about her political views.
Yeah, she's not ashamed. So
Yeah.
the passing of Cicely Tyson was like devastating. I'm pretty sure, especially for you because you're
Yeah.
an actress. Have you ever met her any time in your life or? Okay.
I know. So that's what made it really suck. I was like, I never got a chance to meet her. I never even had a chance to like see her, in my time being here, sometimes when you're out just after so many events, even if you've never met someone, you maybe have seen them from a distance. I've never even seen Cicely Tyson.
Mm. I had
Like,
she went to my church. We had like did a Women's Day in
oh
Harlem.
wow.
So
Uh-huh.
it's so crazy because I think I was 10 or 11. My sister was 13. So I'm
Uh-huh.
sitting here, my sister's in the middle, and Cicely Tyson's right next to my sister. So
Wow.
we're sitting down or whatever. And my mom's like staring, like she's like looking, but she can't tell. So then the pastor is like, well, we do have a special guest today, Cicely Tyson. She stands up, and then my sister's just looking, and my mom's tapping her like, that's Cicely Tyson. Who is? I didn't know. Like,
Right, right,
you don't care about that stuff. Like,
right.
so when she had passed, my mom brought that up. She was like, I wish you guys weren't so shy. You guys could have had a picture with her. And then I also worked the Tyler Perry red carpet. And so I seen her again. But she's like, I was so starstruck. Like I work with different celebrities all the time. But
Yeah.
someone like Tyson, I wouldn't even know the first thing to say. Like I wouldn't know. Like I would be so starstruck. So when I
Yeah.
saw her at the Tyler Perry premiere, of his production company, I was just like, wow. Like I was so mad that I didn't know what to say to her. So when she
Yeah.
passed, I'm like, well, I wrote a letter in my phone, and I basically was just,
Mm-hmm.
just thanking her and just being a voice for Black women, because I'm pretty sure she dealt with a lot of things in Hollywood.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you had the chance to like say anything to Cicely, what would you say to her?
I would just thank her for pretty much paving the way. It's so interesting because she said something about not playing certain types of characters, characters that pretty much demean women, or showcase us in different lights. And it really had me kind of reflect on the type of characters that I've played over the years, because I never really, as an actor, I always just felt like, it's a character, like, just having fun, or because I did a lot of work, a lot of character work very early on in my career. So I played like crackheads, just all type of people from different walks of life. And I never, hearing her say that really had me think about that. Like, you're an opportunity to represent um, different types of characters for sure, but choosing, the type of characters you are only going to portray that show, Black women in a different light, in a higher light, in a positive light.
Mm,
I had never really thought about that or considered that until she said something, and I was like, I never considered it, how, the characters we do play leave an imprint, and an impression. And so if you are going to take on that responsibility, you know, perhaps you should consider that or look at that, because it's not just a role that you're playing, you're actually leaving an imprint or saying something about, this type of a person.
right.
And to me, I always feel like no judgment on any of the characters that I play,
Mm,
but it did give me something to think about, because
yeah.
just like in real life, people get to where they're at based off of, their past experiences. So if they end up being whatever that people want to put judgment on, something got them to that place. And that's the fascinating part for me as an actor, to discover and build all those things that got that person to the place. But she was just, yeah, she was dope.
Yeah, because Chadwick Boseman actually said the same thing too. He said that he only plays roles that he felt like that would uplift the Black culture. And if you look
Yeah.
at like his catalog, he has even his last film that he did with
Ma Rainey
oh
with Viola. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
it was my first
Yeah.
time actually even learning about that, so I had no idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I did my research. But it was interesting that he actually chose that, because I know a lot of Black men still deal with that today. Who his character was, if they don't, they sometimes they battle with that depression or feeling like they don't have nothing else to give to the world, so they might as well hurt everybody else around them.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to actually show you something. So I did my research, and you said that you did a lot of films in the past. So I came across your reel.
Oh my
You are
God.
Moesha.
I like your new best friend, Shania from
Oh my
upstairs.
Lord.
What are you doing in my man's bedroom? I just came to take a shower.
That's so funny.
So when you look at like old footage like that, how do you feel when you see like how far you came?
I feel like I'm like, wow, I've come a long way, and that Moesha, that's that I'll always remember that, because when I lived in Chicago, I used to watch that show, and I didn't really know a whole lot about the business. So I used to write people, casting directors, when I lived in Chicago, and I would be like, I knew I was moving to LA, but I would write letters like, "Oh, I really want to be a Moesha," or whatever show it was. Like, I think another show that was on back then was Soul Food.
Yeah,
So I used to call Edmonds Entertainment and be like, how do I get on? I mean, I just didn't know, you know what I mean? So I was just like going with my instincts. And Moesha was one of the shows that I wrote when I was back in Chicago. And then when I got here and I learned who like the VP of casting was over that entire network, I ended up writing them. And then they brought me in to what was called a general at that time. And a general is like a general meeting that they'll have with actors, and they'll give you material. And they had sent me material to audition. It wasn't for Moesha, but it was just like for something else. And I didn't really know. My go-to, I guess, was drama. So I went in and I was like, I did it. I was all dramatic. I even think I cried. And they were like looking at me like, do you know the difference between like comedy and drama? Because the formatting is different on scripts. And
right.
I was like, no. And then they were like, well, this is a comedy, and we want you to do it again. And then I did it again, and then I got called in for Moesha. So that was a pretty cool experience. So yeah, that's one that I always remember. And then I was a big Brandy fan too, so that was dope.
No,
So
from this episode, I was a huge Brandy fan. Like,
yeah.
all I had the shirt, I had the braids because Brandy was like it girl, like the '90s.
Yeah.
So I remember this episode when I was on research. I'm like, oh,
That's so funny, right?
yo, it's like it's crazy to me. It's like wow, like that's so dope. Like, and
Yeah.
now you're actually on the show that lasted more than you guys are used to the third season of All American. So like
Yeah, we
now,
agree.
yeah, now it's not like you're popping in the shows. You're actually like a main character. Like I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like your progress throughout the years.
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of like you writing casting directors, you mentioned that you crashed the Save the Last Dance. Or so you used to
Yeah.
bully everybody in the industry, huh?
You know what? I was just fearless. You know what I mean? I really didn't, you hear the saying like ignorance is bliss. I just felt like I was just going for it. I wasn't really like, I mean, I was asking like, what should I do? But at the same time, I was just following my instincts. And that's why I
Right,
always tell people, I'll try to share what I've done, but I just feel like everybody's path is different. You just never know how it may happen. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was like, I wanted to work. I had my goals. I was like, I got to get my SAT card, so I was just doing what I felt I needed to do to make that happen. So
right.
I just showed up to that audition. Like,
And Chicago,
yeah, in Chicago.
that's so dope. So like, so being from Chicago, what from I can share experiences with you because like being from New York, people always have this idea of us growing up rough or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. And so do you ever whenever people ask like, oh, where you from, do you ever get like people kind of get taken back or get like, just throw any type of negativity towards you, like, oh, what's 63rd or what's O Block? Like, do they say anything like that to get
No.
understand?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I feel like Chicago is a vibe, right? So when you say from Chicago, people be like, oh, either they be like Chicago, it'll be like something. Oh, I love Chicago. It's always a different response, but never really like. No one ever really feel like, is she gonna shoot me? Are you from Chirac? I never get that, but most people know what it is. But I don't think that people are afraid of people from Chicago. They just kind of, if they have thoughts in a negative sense, I never feel that.
yeah, I think people
Yeah.
want to. It's like, oh, they're curious about, just to see what it's like. So
Yeah.
when body. It's like, oh, I want to ask everything I heard about on the news or ask her things that I see.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't really get that. I don't really get that. Yeah, yeah.
That's good though. You know, people drag it. They're very dramatic.
Yeah. Like, nah, yeah.
So you think, are we going to see a little bit of that? This is like your hidden talent. So I would love
You said sing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
You don't sing?
No. I mean, when I was younger, my family thought I was gonna sing, but that left a long time ago. I mean, I stopped. Yeah, it was it's a pretty interesting story that I don't know if I want to share it. But yeah, no, that pursuit, I actually felt like I lost my voice, you know, when I was younger. And yeah, I never went back to singing. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I thought I was gonna be able to sing. So I was a Brandy fan, so I was like, "Oh, I could sing." But you know, you're younger, your voice is so small, so it's easier to, like, I guess, hold notes. But
Right, exactly. Or sound good, like, oh, she sound good, huh? You know, and then
hey.
right.
So,
The reality sets in.
So let's get into All American.
Yeah.
So what's happening so far in the third season? Like, what can you tell us that, like, this season last?
Wow, a lot is happening this year. There's a lot of secrets this season, you know, which is pretty fun to watch and see how everything unfolds. You know, our family, the James family, you know, Spencer is back at Crenshaw High. You know, he came back to Crenshaw to try to help save the school.
Yeah.
The school was kind of being threatened to, like, be converted into like a magnet school, which would displace a lot of the kids going to the high school. And so so he's back at Crenshaw, and Billy is now teaching at Crenshaw. So it's just a interesting dynamic for both of them, you know, kind of being away from what they've experienced and the success that they had at Beverly,
Right.
and Billy being away from his family. And you know, I went to South Crenshaw High as well. My character did.
Yeah.
So I want to be involved as far as, like, helping to save the school as well, helping the school. And so I get involved with trying to help the school as well, and also being a service in the community too. So you'll see more, you know, Grace, you know, trying to help save the school, but you know, we might have a little problem at the school, so we're just gonna see how that all unfolds.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's because I'm excited to see more of Grace's character in each episode, because you get to, you know, you get to learn more and more about her. Because in the first season, she was all mostly about work, you know what I'm saying, make sure her kids were good, making sure there was food on the table. So see her, like, in season 2 and now season 3, like, she's opening up a little bit more. You're learning a little bit more about her. Is it a time where we at least get to see, like, a backstory about, like,
I don't know. I never know. This year they told me, like, a little bit about my storyline, but I don't really know exactly how they're going to put everything together. So I wouldn't be able to tell you, like, if, like, backstory or anything would be revealed about me and about my character.
Because it's like, you know, you get to know everybody. And Grace, I want to know more about her. Like, you know, like, we know Billy. We obviously know Spencer's story.
Yeah.
You know, and we know the family story in Beverly too, you know. But I definitely want to know more about Grace, because it's like, we see her, you're so sweet on set, you know what I'm saying? You're very understanding. But it's like, what is there? Like, you know, like, you know, where's the rest of her family? Like, how did she grow up? You know?
Right. You got to write the writers and tell them. Tell them, like, yo, we want to know more about Grace. Yeah.
I think I want to write them and just see what else we can learn more about you. I think that would be really good, because I think the viewers want to know what else is out there for her, you know? But how was filming during, like, the pandemic? Did you guys film during the pandemic at least?
Yeah, we're still filming now. We went back in September.
Mm.
and we're still filming. We're still filming right now. It has been different. It's definitely been different. It's just, it's weird, you know. It's like, I think everybody's kind of used to it now, but it's like, you know, we have to stay 6 feet away from each other, and then we have the mask, and then we have the shields, and you know, everything is just so different, you know. I mean,
Oh.
it's still, I mean, the set is still great, you know. Everybody still is like in good spirits, but you can just feel like we're in it. Well, I think very early on you could feel like